Chosen one, you've been trying to move forward, but something keeps pulling you back to the same place. Stop right now and listen closely. You didn't stumble onto this message by chance. What if the very thing you're holding on to is the exact thing God is asking you to release? What happens when you realize that your breakthrough is waiting on the other side of your surrender? You are not here by accident. What's ahead in this message will expose the one thing that's been keeping you in spiritual quicksand. But first, here's what you need to understand. God isn't asking you to let go to punish you. He's asking you to let go to promote you. The divine push you're feeling isn't meant to hurt you. It's meant to position you. By the end of this video, you'll know exactly what spirit attachment, emotional pattern, or toxic connection has been sabotaging your progress. But more than that, you'll have the prophetic clarity to cut it off at the root and step boldly into the season God has been preparing for you. This isn't just another message about letting go. This is heaven's intervention in your situation right now. The shift isn't coming, it's here. Hit the like button to declare, I'm ready to receive this divine message. It takes just a second, but helps spread this word to thousands of other chosen ones who need it right now. What's on your heart today? Leave your prayer request in the comments and then take a moment to lift someone else up with words of encouragement. When you share your prayer, others will intercede for you. When you pray for someone else, God moves in ways you never imagined. And to our channel members, thank you for your continued support and faith. May God return it to you in peace, provision, and divine favor. Comment 555 if you're ready for divine change and accelerated transformation in your life. There are moments in life, aren't there, when you find yourself clutching something so tightly, a grip born of raw fear or stubborn habit, believing with every fiber of your being that it's your anchor, your only safety, your very lifeline in a tumultuous sea. Yet with each passing breath, with every strained beat of your weary heart, you begin to feel it slowly, subtly, insidiously suffocating the very essence of your inner peace, stealing the breath from your soul. It's a cruel, agonizing paradox, isn't it? Like clinging desperately to a frayed rope that, instead of pulling you to solid, firm ground, is actually dragging you deeper and deeper into unfamiliar, chilling, unsettling waters, pulling you under, breath by precious, precious breath, until the light feels distant and hope begins to wane. You might not even realize it's the rope that's drowning you. So convinced are you that it's the only thing keeping you from being completely lost. Imagine for a moment the Israelites, freshly unbound from the brutal, crushing, soul-destroying chains of Egyptian slavery, truly set free after generations of unrelenting bondage, generations of their very identity being defined by their servitude. You would naturally expect them to be utterly overflowing with unbridled, explosive joy, to be leaping and dancing with wild abandon into the boundless, exhilarating expanse of their newfound freedom, wouldn't you? You'd anticipate a spontaneous symphony of celebration, a collective sigh of relief. But the sacred texts, the very heart of their profound story woven through the Bible, tell us a truly surprising, unsettling, and almost heartbreaking truth. They actually yearned, with a strange and persistent ache in their very souls, for the grim predictability, the cold, hard certainty, even the so-called comfort of their former captivity. They remembered the leeks and the fish, forgetting the taskmaster's whips and the unending toil under a scorching sun. They preferred the familiar misery of slavery to the terrifying unknown of true liberty. Why on earth would any soul, once tasting the sweet nectar of freedom, long for the very chains they'd just miraculously escaped? Because, my beloved friend, true, unadulterated freedom demanded something utterly terrifying of them. It demanded that they trust in something completely unknown, something entirely unseen, something they could not possibly control or manipulate with their own hands or their own limited understanding. It required them to release the illusion of control they had even in their bondage, where at least they knew what to expect. That chilling whisper of the unfamiliar, that daunting vastness of the uncharted wilderness, that is precisely how this cunning spirit of delay operates in the quiet, often hidden corners of our own lives. It's not a loud, boisterous, easily identifiable enemy that comes with a roar. No, it's far more insidious, a master of deception. It quietly, subtly whispers, then gently convinces us, weaving a hypnotic spell around our minds and our hearts, making us believe that what's familiar, even if it's genuinely, profoundly painful, relentlessly draining our spirit and actively holding us back from the expansive, vibrant life God so tenderly intends for us, is somehow, impossibly, safer than taking that single, courageous, terrifying step out on pure, unadulterated faith. It deceitfully tells us it's always better to endure the known misery, the predictable pain, the familiar heartache, than to risk the glorious, unpredictable, unknown blessing that God has waiting just for us, just beyond the veil of our fear. It binds us not with visible chains of iron, but with invisible bonds forged from our own deepest, most primal fears, making a cage of our comfort zone. But oh, here's the breathtaking, liberating truth, a truth that should ignite a flicker of hope, a blazing ember in the deepest chambers of your weary heart, a truth that echoes through the very fabric of creation. God is absolutely, unequivocally, not a God of stagnant comfort zones. He doesn't call us to simply exist, to merely survive, to stay perpetually stuck in what's easy, what's predictable, what's familiar, what's small. He doesn't want us to settle for a lukewarm, insipid existence that merely mirrors the world's expectations. No, he calls his chosen ones, people just like you and me, with a deep, resonating trumpet call, a divine summons into the vast, sometimes intimidating, deep, open waters of faith. And why, you might ask, would a loving, all-knowing God lead us to such seemingly perilous places, places where our feet cannot touch the bottom and the shore feels so far away? Because that, my dear one, that is precisely where you begin to truly realize something profound, something utterly life-altering, a revelation that will anchor your soul. It's not the seemingly solid ground beneath your trembling feet that has ever truly been holding you up, sustaining you, giving you life, giving you purpose. No, it's Him. It is in those trembling moments when you feel a little out of your depth, when the gentle, persistent waves of uncertainty begin to lap at your chin, threatening to pull you under, that you learn to really, truly lean on Him, to surrender your desperate need to control, to float effortlessly on the boundless ocean of His grace, to trust His infinite, unfathomable strength when your own is undeniably, utterly not enough to navigate the vastness. It's in the overwhelming vastness of that unknown, in the beautiful, vulnerable act of letting go of your grip on all that is familiar, that you discover, with a profound sense of awe and wonder that will take your breath away, that His capacity to sustain you, to carry you, to embrace you, to hold you afloat, is infinitely, incomprehensibly greater than anything you could ever muster on your own. He becomes your bedrock in the wildest of waves, your very breath in the deepest of depths, your compass in the fog, your shelter in the storm. If your heart feels heavy right now, if there's a dull ache, a persistent weariness that clings to your spirit like a damp cloak, if you just feel weighed down by something you can't quite name, a nameless burden pressing down on your very soul, please know, with every fiber of your being, that there is a profound divine reason for this discomfort, this yearning for something more. It's probably because the old season, whatever that looks like for you, whatever familiar cloak it wears, whatever form its worn-out patterns take, those old, ingrained habits of thought and action, the worn-out ways of thinking that no longer serve your highest good, the stale, suffocating relationships that drain your energy and dim your light, the very identity you've outgrown and that now feels too small, too constricting. is actively, powerfully suffocating what God is desperately, tenderly trying to resurrect, trying to breathe vibrant new life into right there inside of you. It's like trying to plant a new, vibrant, precious seed, bursting with incredible, unfulfilled potential into old, hard, rocky, infertile soil that has long been depleted of its nutrients, its life-giving essence. The seed struggles, gasping for nourishment, for light, for space to grow and unfurl its delicate roots, and you feel that struggle, that internal battle, deep within your bones. Sometimes the most relentless, exhausting battle we face isn't out there in the swirling chaos of the world. It's not against external circumstances that seem insurmountable or against other people who might wound us with their careless words or actions. No, the fiercest, most draining, most persistent fight is actually internal, right in the silent, yet often incredibly noisy chambers of our own minds. It's what you allow to replay over and over again, like a broken record stuck in a painful, repetitive groove. The persistent, nagging sting of past disappointments that refuse to fade into the background. The sharp, unexpected pain of betrayals that cut deep into the very fabric of your soul. The harsh, careless words spoken over you by others that you never actually, truly agreed with, but somehow, subtly, insidiously, you accepted them as the undeniable truth about yourself, internalizing them as your own identity. You've been rehearsing that pain, that limiting story, that debilitating limitation for far, far too long, until it feels like your very identity. You've played it on repeat in your head, dwelling endlessly on the what-ifs and the if-onlys, caught in a suffocating loop of regret and what could have been unable to break free from its hypnotic rhythm. But heaven, right now, in this very sacred moment, as these words resonate within your spirit, is actively pulling you, drawing you with an irresistible, gentle force into a fresh, transformative encounter with God's pure, liberating truth, with His profound, unshakable peace that transcends all understanding, with His glorious, unbounded future for you, a future bursting with unimaginable potential. There's a powerful, almost magical principle at play here, a divine alchemy that transforms emptiness into fullness. The very moment you truly, bravely, authentically release the right thing, that old, nagging pain, that limiting, stifling belief that has held you captive, that desperate need for control that chokes your freedom, you automatically, supernaturally, create the necessary room, the open, welcoming, fertile space for a new and beautiful thing, a truly miraculous thing, to enter your life, to take root and to flourish. It's like unclasping your clenched fist, not just letting go of what you're holding, but consciously opening your hand, palm upward, ready, truly ready, with a spirit of hopeful anticipation to receive something utterly incredible, something divine, something beyond your wildest dreams. Honestly, some of the greatest breakthroughs I've ever witnessed, both in the quiet, unfolding story of my own life and in the vibrant, transforming lives of countless others I've had the privilege to walk alongside, don't come from frantically searching for every possible answer, chasing down every fleeting piece of information, or trying to intellectualize our way out of our deepest, most profound spiritual problems, as if our minds alone can solve the complex, intricate mysteries of the Spirit. They actually come when we deliberately quiet ourselves, when we consciously choose to stop the endless, exhaustive quest for more information, for external validation, for logical explanations that often elude us, and simply, profoundly, start sitting with revelation. What, you might ask, is the vital, life-altering difference between searching and revelation? Searching, my dear friend, is often an external endeavor, a frantic, hurried gathering of data from the outside world, a restless seeking that leaves you feeling more exhausted than enlightened. You chase after answers, feeling like they're always just out of reach. Revelation, on the other hand, is an internal aha moment, a sudden, illuminating flash of insight, a divine download directly from the very heart of God, a quiet, undeniable understanding that just clicks into place, illuminating everything, like a switch has been flipped in a darkened room. It's the difference between collecting scattered, disconnected pieces of a vast, intricate puzzle and having the whole picture suddenly, gloriously, appear before your eyes, making perfect sense in an instant. If that profound idea resonates deeply with you, if you feel a stirring within your soul, a quiet longing for something more than surface-level answers, if you are truly tired of the endless, often fruitless intellectual search and are ready for some real, profound insight that comes directly from the Spirit, then the 10 Hidden Truths of Jesus' Parables is truly, unequivocally, your next vital step, your next sacred encounter. It's a short, yet incredibly powerful ebook, written with a warm heart and a clear mind, designed to be easy to understand and deeply applicable to the messy, beautiful reality of your everyday existence. It gently opens up these practical, spirit-led truths that Jesus himself so beautifully taught, often cloaked in simple stories, and it connects them directly, personally, to everyday, tangible areas of your life, like managing your money with divine wisdom and stewardship, experiencing genuine, holistic healing, not just for your body, but for your soul and spirit, and gaining real, profound emotional clarity that cuts through the fog of confusion and self-doubt. The link for it is right there, nestled conveniently in the first comment below this video. But just a gentle heads up, a little nudge. It's only available for a limited time, so please grab it while you can, while the Spirit is stirring your heart and the invitation feels fresh and urgent. The journey toward breakthrough, true, lasting, transformative breakthrough, isn't some single, dramatic, heroic leap that happens overnight, like a sudden burst of fireworks exploding in the dark sky, immediately illuminating everything. Oh, how often we wish it were, don't we? How we yearn for instant solutions, for immediate, effortless relief from our burdens. Instead, it's a beautiful, challenging, and profoundly personal series of surrendered steps, each one a whisper of unwavering faith, a quiet act of deep, abiding trust in a God who sees beyond what you can imagine. Each step stretches your faith a little further than you ever thought it could possibly go, tests your obedience in new, unexpected, sometimes uncomfortable ways, and ultimately reveals more and more of the magnificent divine potential God has already so powerfully, lovingly placed inside of you, patiently waiting to be discovered. It's like gently peeling back layers, one by one, of an exquisite, divinely created masterpiece, slowly, tenderly, unveiling the true, radiant beauty, the intricate design, the profound purpose that has been there all along, hidden beneath the dust of daily life and the shadows of self-doubt. First, my friend, you absolutely, unequivocally have to confront the insidious, whispering lie that tells you, with a cruel conviction that feels utterly real, that you're somehow not worthy of change, not worthy of blessing, not worthy of a better life, a life brimming with divine promise and purpose. This lie, a persistent serpent in the garden of your mind, whispers that you're too broken, too flawed, too far gone, beyond repair, beyond hope, beyond redemption. It tells you your past mistakes have irrevocably defined your future. Think about Gideon, a man etched into the sacred, timeless pages of Scripture. When God, the Almighty, the Creator of the universe, called him to a mighty, world-changing purpose, Gideon, from the depths of his own perceived inadequacy, from his deep-seated humility and self-doubt, saw himself as the least significant, the most utterly unlikely person from the weakest, most obscure clan in Manasseh, Judges 6:15. He felt utterly, completely unqualified for anything grand or significant, convinced he was the wrong person for the job. Yet, before Gideon ever lifted a sword in battle, before he won a single miraculous victory that altered the course of history, God himself, in his infinite wisdom and foresight, called him mighty warrior. Judges 6:12. God wasn't looking at Gideon's past failures, his current humble circumstances, or his crippling self-doubt. He was speaking directly to his inherent, divinely implanted potential, to the profound, glorious truth of who he divinely made Gideon to be, regardless of what Gideon himself believed. That same liberating truth applies to you, right here, right now, in this very moment. What you've perhaps called a curse, maybe a past failure that haunts your memory with its persistent sting, a perceived weakness that feels like a heavy burden you can never shed, a difficult background that seems to disqualify you from anything good. God is literally about to use as your credential, your unique qualification, your powerful, compelling story for the very thing he's calling you into, a testament to his grace. Your story of overcoming, your journey through the fire, your quiet triumph over adversity will become your most powerful, most resonant testimony, a beacon of hope, a guiding light for countless others who are walking through their own darkness, searching for a way out. Next, with a deep breath that calms your spirit and a brave heart that dares to see the truth, you need to bravely pull back the curtain on your patterns. We all have them, don't we? Those seemingly inescapable cycles that appear to repeat themselves over and over again, like a relentless, frustrating loop, whether it's in the realm of your relationships, leaving you feeling perpetually misunderstood or abandoned, or the ebb and flow of your finances, perpetually struggling to get ahead, or even just your automatic, ingrained emotional responses to life's challenges, leading you down the same well-worn paths of fear or anger. The profound reason this cycle keeps repeating itself, relentlessly, frustratingly, draining your energy and hope, is usually because, perhaps unknowingly, perhaps subconsciously, you keep making agreements with old narratives, old stories about yourself or the world that simply aren't true anymore, or perhaps, with a painful honesty, never truly were. It's like the woman with the issue of blood in the Bible, Mark 5:25-34. She had spent 12 long, agonizing years in relentless suffering, her body ravaged by illness, her spirit worn down by chronic pain and constant disappointment. Can you truly imagine that? 12 years of seeking a cure, of trying every single doctor, every possible human remedy, every fleeting hope, spending all her money, all her resources, only to get worse, progressively more debilitated, more isolated, more desperate. She was utterly spent, completely exhausted from years of trying every human solution, every trick she could find, every desperate attempt to heal herself, except for one simple, profound act, a pure, desperate act of reaching out for Jesus's garment, believing with every fiber of her being that a single touch would change everything. There comes a moment, and maybe, just maybe, this sacred moment right now as you read these words, is it for you, when that deep, tired desperation finally, divinely transforms into purposeful, divine action, when the weariness of the old way propels you into a new, courageous step. It's the moment you stop trying everything else, everything that has failed you repeatedly, everything that has drained you of your hope and resources, and just simply reach for him, for his divine touch, his unfailing power. Then, my dear friend, you absolutely have to quiet the counterfeit voices. The enemy's strategy, his cunning and deceptive plan, isn't always a loud, booming roar that's easy to recognize as direct opposition, as a clear, unmistakable attack. Sometimes his most dangerous, most insidious tactic is a quiet, persuasive whisper, subtly disguised as profound wisdom, as common sense, as a protective instinct designed to keep you safe from perceived harm, when in reality, it's keeping you from God's highest good. Think about Peter, the zealous, passionate disciple. He loved Jesus deeply, truly, with every fiber of his being, with all his passionate heart, and he wanted to protect him. But when Jesus began to speak plainly about his divine purpose, about his destined journey to the cross, about the suffering he must endure to fulfill his Father's will, Peter, from a place of genuine concern, of human affection and limited understanding, actually tried to talk him out of his divine purpose, tried to dissuade him from the very reason he came to earth. Matthew 16:22-23. Jesus had to rebuke him sharply with an undeniable urgency, saying, "Get behind me, Satan." This powerful, pivotal moment teaches us a vital, discerning lesson. Not every caring voice, not every well-intentioned piece of advice, not every seemingly reasonable suggestion that whispers in your ear or comes from those around you is a guiding voice from the pure, unadulterated Spirit of God. You have to learn, with a growing discernment, to tune out the incessant noise, the voices that might sound perfectly reasonable, perfectly logical, perfectly protective, but are actually subtly pulling you away from God's absolute best for you, away from your divine destiny, away from the path of blessing He has carved out for you. As you faithfully practice that sacred discernment, that quiet inner listening to the still, small voice within, you'll soon come face to face with that hidden habit, that subtle, often unconscious belief or behavior that has truly been feeding your delay, holding you captive in an unseen yet powerful way. It's time, truly, genuinely time, to stop waiting for the perfect feeling to arrive before you take action. We all fall into this deceptive trap, don't we? That subtle self-sabotage that whispers, "Oh, I'll do it when I feel completely motivated," or "I'll start when I feel absolutely ready, when all the stars align perfectly, when every doubt has vanished, when the path is crystal clear." This waiting for perfection often becomes a sophisticated form of procrastination, a spiritual paralysis. Instead, it's time to simply, profoundly start obeying the last word God gave you, that quiet nudge in your spirit, that specific instruction, that precious promise He whispered to the deepest chambers of your heart, even if it feels small, insignificant, or illogical to your rational mind. Remember Abraham, the revered father of faith. God told him, in no uncertain terms, to leave his homeland, his family, his familiar surroundings, everything he knew, and go to a place He would show him. Abraham didn't know the exact destination, Genesis 12:1. He had no map, no GPS, no guarantee of what lay ahead, no clear itinerary, no promise of comfort or ease. He just obediently started walking, one foot in front of the other, trusting the voice of God above all else. Don't worship clarity. Don't make perfect understanding or a complete roadmap your idol before you dare to move. Walk in faith, one courageous step after another, even if the fog is thick and you can only see an inch in front of your toes. Trust that the very next steps will miraculously light up as you take them, illuminated by His divine presence, by His guiding hand. There is a powerful supernatural acceleration in simple obedience that comfort, or endlessly waiting for everything to feel perfectly aligned, will simply never, ever deliver. When you bravely step out in faith, even a tiny step, God, in His boundless grace and infinite power, powerfully steps in, meeting you in the motion, confirming His word. Now this one can be tough, truly challenging, sometimes even painful to look at, but it is absolutely crucial for your spiritual liberation and for the unfurling of your destiny. Confront what has become comfortable but profoundly toxic in your life. We all have these things, don't we? These subtle compromises we've made, these situations or relationships we've learned to survive with, things we've just adapted to and accepted as just the way it is, a regrettable part of our landscape, a necessary evil, or simply my lot in life. But what you've learned to survive with, what you've merely tolerated, what has drained your joy and stifled your growth, God actually wants to completely, lovingly remove from your life for your destiny's sake, for the sake of the glorious, abundant future He has planned for you. It's not just about fleeting comfort. It's about what's genuinely hindering your highest potential, what's dimming your unique light. What's preventing you from becoming fully who you were created to be? Think about young David, a humble shepherd boy with a giant slaying destiny etched into his very being. When he was about to face the formidable, terrifying Goliath, King Saul, with good intentions but limited understanding of God's anointing, tried to fit him with Saul's own heavy, cumbersome armor. 1 Samuel 17:38-39. It was good armor, king's armor, impressive and strong, designed for a seasoned warrior, but it didn't fit David. It was too big, too heavy. It wasn't meant for him. It restricted his unique movements and the anointing that flowed through him. David's anointing, his unique gifting and calling, was never meant to fit someone else's expectations, someone else's way of doing things, or someone else's narrow definition of success or preparation. He had to shed what didn't fit him, even if it was good in someone else's eyes. Get ready, because truly confronting this next step, stripping away these ill-fitting comforts and perceived securities, will completely shift your understanding of what true spiritual maturity looks like. It's not about conforming to external pressures or expectations. It's about becoming more fully, authentically you, precisely as God lovingly intended, free and unburdened by anything that hinders His light within you. Then, with an open heart ready to receive truth and a discerning spirit attuned to the whispers of heaven, it's time to honestly, truly honestly, examine your loyalties. This isn't just about who you hang out with on a Saturday afternoon or who you call your closest friends. It's about what you give your deepest allegiance to, what truly captures your heart's devotion, what you secretly, unconsciously serve. Some relationships, some ingrained ways of thinking, some old worn-out identities feel safe because they're deeply familiar, like a well-worn, comfortable coat that has seen better days but feels too risky to discard. But like Lot's wife, looking back with a lingering longing, a yearning ache, a nostalgic grip on what you're being divinely called to leave behind, can instantly turn your forward progress into paralyzing, utterly debilitating stagnation. Genesis 19:26. She didn't just glance back with a passing curiosity. She turned into a pillar of salt because her heart was still irrevocably tied to what God was actively, necessarily destroying for a greater purpose, a new beginning. She longed for the familiarity of the city, even its sin, more than the promised safety. Sometimes elevation, true spiritual and personal growth, absolutely requires a loving, divinely orchestrated separation. When God, in His infinite wisdom, in His perfect timing, closes a door in your life, it's rarely, if ever, a punishment, a punitive act to make you suffer. He's not being mean or trying to make things harder or more painful for you, even if it feels that way in the moment. More often than not, He's actually protecting the precious promise He's carefully placed within you from something that would hinder it, something that would contaminate its purity, something that would prevent its flourishing, and He's graciously redirecting you to a better, clearer, more expansive path, even if it feels jarring, unsettling, or even profoundly painful at first. Trust His leading, even when you don't understand the winding, often confusing path He's laying before you. Next, with a quiet yet firm determination, you need to look honestly, truly honestly, at your daily confessions. And I don't just mean the words you speak out loud, the declarations you make for the world to hear, the affirmations you might utter each morning. I mean the relentless, often subconscious internal dialogue, the things you repeatedly declare over your life in the secret chambers of your mind, the deep-seated beliefs you hold about yourself, about others, and about your future, beliefs that you might not even be consciously aware of. These spoken and unspoken confessions, quite literally, powerfully, form the invisible boundaries of your future, limiting what you believe is truly possible for you, for your life, for your potential. Think about Bartimaeus, the blind man in the Bible. He was known as Blind Bartimaeus, Mark 10:46, a label that society, his condition, had cruelly put on him, defining him by his limitation, reducing him to his affliction. but he fiercely, passionately refused that label when he shouted for Jesus, with a desperate, unwavering cry that cut through the noise, declaring his profound need and his tenacious faith. He didn't just passively accept it as his identity. He broke agreement with the labels that do not, absolutely do not, match what heaven lovingly says about you, about your potential, about your true identity in Christ. What labels have you allowed, perhaps unknowingly, to define you, to limit your potential, to dictate your reality? Is it, "I'm always broke," or "I'm not good enough," or "I'll never find love," or "I always mess things up"? It's time, right now, in this powerful moment, to speak what God says about you, to declare His truth over your life, not the world's lies or your own doubts. Capable, loved, worthy, whole, abundant, free, blessed, anointed. Speak life, not limitation. This is where you dig even deeper into the uncomfortable but absolutely necessary work. The work of true liberation, a work that can feel like spiritual surgery. You need to forgive what seems absolutely, utterly unforgivable, what has wounded you so deeply that the very thought of releasing it feels impossible. I know this is a monumental task, a truly seismic shift in your soul, a mountain that seems too steep to climb. This isn't about excusing someone else's hurtful actions or pretending the pain didn't happen, as if it were a figment of your imagination, a mere inconvenience. No, it's about finding profound, unshakable freedom for yourself, releasing the bitter, poisonous chains that bind you to the past, chains that keep you captive to resentment and unhealed wounds. Think about Joseph, a figure of immense grace, profound resilience, and unwavering faith. His own brothers, born of the same father, bound by blood, betrayed him, sold him into slavery for a few pieces of silver, left him for dead in a pit, fabricating a lie to their father. Genesis 37 to 12:36. Yet years later, when he was in a position of unimaginable power, second only to Pharaoh himself, his destiny, his very ability to save his family from starvation and fulfill God's magnificent, overarching plan for his life and the future of his people, depended entirely on him releasing the memory of that bitter, searing betrayal and truly, genuinely forgiving them from the depths of his heart. Genesis 50:20. He saw God's hand in it all. The key to your next level of promotion, not just in career or worldly success, but in profound peace, in true purpose, in unadulterated joy, in the very spaciousness of your soul, is often quietly, subtly buried beneath the very things you thought you'd never, ever release, the grudges you believed you had to hold on to, the resentment you felt entitled to carry. Let them go, release that heavy burden, and watch your freedom unfold before you like a glorious banner, revealing paths you never imagined. Now, this is a truly beautiful one, a balm for the weary soul, an invitation to a deeper, more peaceful way of being. Break the relentless cycle of striving. So many of us, without even realizing it, live as if we're constantly in some kind of exhausting performance contest for God's affection or approval. We mistakenly believe we have to earn His boundless love, earn His abundant blessings, earn our intrinsic worthiness through endless effort, through ceaseless achievement, through constant doing, through striving to be good enough for Him. It's utterly exhausting, isn't it? A treadmill that never stops, a race with no finish line, leaving you perpetually breathless and unfulfilled. But like Mary, who, with a beautiful simplicity and profound wisdom, chose to simply sit at the feet of Jesus, listening attentively to His life-giving words, prioritizing His presence over frantic preparation, Luke 10:38-42. Sometimes the most profound, most transformative breakthrough doesn't come from more doing, more frantic activity, more striving to impress, but from simply pausing, from listening with an open heart, and from surrendering your frantic agenda for His calming, all-encompassing presence, It's in that beautiful stillness, that quiet, trust-filled surrender, that true clarity often breaks through, like a gentle dawn after a long, dark night, and God's profound, unmerited grace washes over you, refreshing your soul, reminding you that His love is a pure, unearned gift, not a wage you must tirelessly work for. Here's precisely where most people, when the journey gets tough, when the road becomes steep and challenging, when the path feels arduous and overwhelming, just turn back. They give up, thinking it's too hard, too demanding, or perhaps with a sigh of resignation, that it's simply not meant for them, that they are not strong enough or worthy enough. But you, my friend, you are called to press in, to lean in, to push through that resistance, that discomfort. Don't give up now. Not when you are so incredibly close to the precipice of breakthrough, on the very cusp of a profound transformation. Instead of just dealing with the fruit, the visible problems that manifest on the surface of your life, the constant stress, the financial struggle, the relational strife, ask God, with a sincere, honest heart, to reveal the root, the underlying hidden cause, the deeper beliefs or patterns that are feeding those visible issues. Is fear subtly posing as wisdom, telling you to play it safe, to retreat, when God is clearly calling you to be bold, to step out in courageous faith into the unknown? Is isolation wearing the deceptive mask of discernment, convincing you that it's safer, more prudent to be alone, to build walls, when God divinely designed you for deep, meaningful, authentic connection and community? Remember David, long before he was king, long before his glorious victories. His own brothers, his own family, saw him as nothing more than a simple shepherd boy, an insignificant figure, not fit for anything grand or important, certainly not for leadership or battle. 1 Samuel 16:11. They judged him by his humble appearance and perceived weakness. But God, the all-seeing, all-knowing one who looks beyond the surface, saw a king, a man after his own heart, a man capable of incredible, world-changing things. Sometimes, for years, you've been subtly misjudging yourself, believing the limited perspectives of others, or perhaps the echoing whispers of your own past failures and disappointments. It's time, right now, in this powerful moment, to align your vision for yourself with God's magnificent, glorious, expansive vision for you, to see yourself through His loving, all-knowing eyes. And here's the most unexpected truth, the one that can be the hardest to swallow, the most challenging to embrace, because it touches the raw nerve of our human pride, our stubborn self-reliance. What's truly been holding you back isn't just what you're afraid of losing, that familiar comfort or perceived safety, that illusion of control. It's also sometimes the subtle, insidious pride in thinking you know best how your breakthrough should look, how it should arrive, or what specific path it should take. We get so incredibly fixated on our own perfect, meticulously planned trajectory, our own preconceived notions of how God should move, how He should deliver, how He should answer our prayers. We draw a small, limited circle around His boundless power. But divine promotion, true spiritual elevation, the answer to your deepest longings rarely, if ever, arrives in the package you expect, wrapped in the colors you chose, delivered at the time you designated, or through the channels you anticipated. God's ways are higher than our ways, His thoughts deeper than our thoughts, His plans far more expansive, more intricate, more perfect than anything we could possibly conceive in our limited human understanding. Think about Jacob, a man whose life was marked by striving, by cunning, by wrestling to get what he wanted. He literally wrestled with God Himself all night long in a desperate physical and spiritual struggle for a blessing, for a profound transformation. Genesis 32:22-32. He walked away limping, forever physically marked and changed by that profound, divine encounter. But he walked away finally whole, finally truly himself. His name transformed from Jacob, deceiver, to Israel, contends with God. His destiny affirmed by God Himself. Sometimes God, in His infinite love and wisdom, has to gently, lovingly break our stubborn will, our rigid, preconceived notions, or our carefully constructed plans to bring us to a place of true wholeness, of genuine blessing, of authentic freedom, a freedom that only comes through surrender. It's in the breaking that we become truly made, perfectly molded into His image, refined and purified for His purposes. Tonight, before you close your eyes and drift off into the quiet embrace of sleep, before the world's noise tries to reassert its claim on your mind, I want you to say this prayer out loud. Really feel the profound words in your spirit. Let them resonate in every cell of your being. Let them sink deep into the core of your soul. I release all fear. I release all doubt. I step into my divine purpose, and I trust that my miracle is already on its way. Speak it not just with your lips, but with conviction, with a quiet, unshakable certainty that rises from the depths of your soul, from that place within you that knows God's truth. If you felt even the slightest shift, a quiet stirring, a gentle sense of lightness in your spirit as you spoke those words, as you uttered that declaration of faith, then know with absolute certainty that something has truly, powerfully changed within you. A spiritual anchor has lifted, a barrier has dissolved, a new current has begun to flow. Please, if your heart feels led, if the Spirit is nudging you, share this message with someone who needs to hear it, someone whose spirit is weary and longing for a shift, someone who feels stuck and needs this liberating truth. Drop a prayer or an amen below in the comments. Let's build a vibrant, living community of faith right here, supporting one another in love, holding space for each other's breakthroughs. And I encourage you, return tomorrow, eager and watchful, with a heart full of expectation, ready to testify about the beautiful, clear path God is now actively clearing before you, illuminating each step. Your courageous surrender in this moment, this tender, powerful act of letting go, has unlocked this powerful shift for you, and the seeds of your miracle have been sown. And your future testimony, your personal story of breakthrough, of walking through the fire and emerging purified, will undoubtedly, undeniably, powerfully unlock someone else's, setting them free to walk in their own divine destiny.